This is the Gao Ghost Agent headquarters. Inside are rows of containment units holding figures. A central device glows in a large room. A person walks across the floor. The person stands before a large glowing console. He identifies this as the facility that seals ghosts and asks if they felt safe. He raises a hand and tells everyone to come out. He states he will open the cage that binds them. A system error message appears. The central device flashes red. The containment units begin to crack. A monster is visible behind the breaking glass. The glass shatters further. The containment unit bursts open. Many monstrous figures are released. More ghosts emerge from their confinement. A woman with red eyes asks what will be done now. She asks if they can handle this disaster as ghosts swarm the building. The scene shifts to 1 month later. Police are directing traffic on a highway at night. Two police officers state there have been a lot of crackdowns lately due to orders from above. An officer notes the recent number of car accidents while approaching a vehicle. A hand knocks on the car window. A police officer announces a Dewey checkpoint and requests the window be rolled down. The driver inside is entangled in red tendrils with glowing eyes. The officer reports that something is wrong because the driver is not responding. The car's wheel spins. The vehicle accelerates away from the checkpoint. The car smashes into a police vehicle. The police car flips and crashes. The officer radios that a white Mercedes is fleeing after refusing a test. She requests backup and is informed that backup has arrived. She asks what that means. Another officer on a bicycle speeds past. The first officer identifies the person as Officer Guhari. A text box confirms her identity as Yongno District 1 Station Officer Guhari. Guhari pursues the car on her bike and yells for it to stop. The car swerves dangerously close to her. She continues chasing the car through the city. Guhari says the driver hit someone and she must stop that car. Her eyes lock onto a target ahead. She spots a large truck and says there it is. She yells as she rides up the truck's ramp. She pedals hard up the incline. She launches her bike into the air. The driver inside the car looks up. Guhari lands directly on the car's hood. The car's wheel grinds to a halt. The vehicle crashes and smashes. She lands and slides to a stop. She catches her breath and adjusts her cap. She tells the driver she warned him to stop. Police cars arrive at the crash site. A dark shadow emerges from the wrecked car. The snake-like shadow darts away. Guhari wonders what that was saying, something like a snake jumped out. Another officer runs up calling her name. Guhari identifies her as Inspector Juhyuna. Inspector Juhyuna asks if she is okay. Guhari says she is fine and has arrested the suspect. The inspector says that is not the point and asks why she did something so dangerous. Guhari says she had to stop it quickly. The inspector tells her she should have moved with backup. She says if something had gone wrong, Guhari could have been carried out on a stretcher. Inspector Hyuna states police work is not solved by acting alone and forbids dangerous actions. Guhari agrees and says she understands. The inspector looks at her. She tells Guhari to clean up the scene. Guhari thinks to herself that she was trying to save people and wonders if she was too reckless. A large truck speeds down the highway. An officer on the road turns in surprise. The truck barrels towards the officer. A glowing talisman flies forward. A person surrounded by light punches the truck. The figure stops the truck's advance. The truck comes to a smoking halt. Guhari and other officers run toward the commotion asking what happened. Guhari yells to rescue the driver first and looks up. Red energy swirls inside the truck cabin. A monstrous ghost appears within the red mist. A dark void with a light appears. Guhari's eye widens. The officers see the driver slumped over in the truck's window surrounded by a red glow. An officer reports a truck accident in Yongno District 1 and requests an ambulance. Guhari thinks this cannot be and wonders if all the ghosts were supposed to be gone. A figure with an umbrella watches from the side of the road. The figure stands silently by a tree. He walks away stating that isolation code 61 has been captured. He says he is sending it back to Gao. A young girl walks through a dark forest at night. She asks where she is and where everyone went. She sees a small creature and calls out the name Sinbai. She chases after Sinbai asking him to take her with him. Sinbai says he is sorry and that he cannot be with Hari. He states that the Sinbai she knew does not exist anymore. He tells her to go back as dark energy pushes her away. Guhari wakes up yelling Sinbai's name. She finds herself at her desk in the police station. She wonders if it was all a dream. Her colleague asks if she is tired and Hari apologizes for startling her. The officer identified as Lee Seon says she heard about yesterday's dangerous backup call. Hari asks how she heard about it and Seon says she has her ways. Seon tells Hari to go home early and that she will finish the work. Guhari taps a picture frame on her desk. She sits silently at her workstation. She looks at the photograph. She thinks it has already been 5 years since Sinbai left. The Sinbai apartment where strange incidents occurred has been peaceful. She recalls the peace feeling unfamiliar at first, but as time passed she had to adapt to the change. She followed in the footsteps of her mother whom she admired. The following year she became a police officer. She wonders what her friends are doing and notes she has not contacted them. She remembers fighting ghosts with her friends, but now they live ordinary lives. Still, she thinks something has not changed. It is the power of the ghost ball that Sinbai left behind. She wonders why Sinbai left her this power before he went away. She thinks that ever since Sinbai disappeared, no ghosts had appeared. She questions the talisman that stopped the truck and asks if something is happening again. Her colleague asks her to handle a report, but Hari runs out to clock off. Later that night, she waits at a bus stop. She complains to herself about her bad luck as the bus passes her by. Her phone on the bench beside her begins to vibrate and glow. She looks at her phone and says she got a text. The message exchange shows her saying she is heading home after working overtime. She thinks about how she wants to see him soon. A new text message asks what happened yesterday, saying he was worried. She decides not to tell him because he would worry and it is police business. A car surrounded by red energy speeds past the bus stop. She looks up, startled by the sudden event. The car continues to race down the street. She recognizes the entity inside as the truck ghost from yesterday. She stands and watches the car flee. A man waiting for a taxi wonders if the driver was drunk. Hari runs to the taxi, identifying herself as police and saying she needs to borrow it. She gets in the driver's seat and speeds away. She remembers Inspector Huna's warning against dangerous actions. She thinks to herself that the inspector was right about not acting alone. But her expression changes with a new thought. She believes she is the only one who can deal with ghosts and must do this. As she drives, a dark shadow begins to form in the passenger seat. She stares at the forming entity in shock. A mouth appears in the darkness and asks about the police. The ghost asks if she thinks she can stop it alone. At a construction site that night, the ground is littered with destroyed mechanical debris. The area is filled with smoke and wreckage. A man in a suit stands amidst the destruction looking at his phone. He is texting Hari, who replied that nothing happened yesterday. He tells her to take care of herself. He steps forward, crushing rubble underfoot. Another man appears, commenting on his ability to handle 4 low-level evil spirits alone. The first man turns his head. The second man says he told him Gao agent Choi Kanglim was competent. Choi Kanglim says they must hurry with the last one as it may have contacted a civilian. The other man asks about the civilian and then says he knows who it is. He says he means Gu Hari. He asks if it will be okay, stating the situation will become complicated. Choi Kanglim tells Manager O that it is no problem. He holds a glowing sword and says no one will put Hari in danger while he is here. Back in the car, the ghost asks about the police. The entity fully forms and asks Hari if she thinks she can stop it alone. Hari's eye widens in shock. She grips the steering wheel as darkness surrounds her. Hari asks where the ghost went after it disappeared. She then sees the entity on the other car. The ghost glares at her from the vehicle. She grits her teeth. She tells herself to get it together. Hari continues the high-speed chase. She pulls her taxi alongside the other car. The two vehicles collide on the road. Hari yells at the ghost to let the innocent person go. The ghost does not respond. She concludes that communication is pointless and she must stop the vehicle. She looks ahead with alarm. A car appears in their path. The possessed car swerves to avoid it. Hari struggles with her steering wheel. She realizes they are driving towards a cliff. She slams on the brakes. The ghost's car flies over the edge. Her taxi smashes into the guardrail. The front of the taxi is destroyed. 2 cars are crashed at the bottom of the cliff. The vehicles are heavily damaged from the impact. The door to Hari's taxi swings open. Hari stumbles out of the vehicle in pain. She falls to the ground thinking she cannot move her body. She grits her teeth and thinks about the other driver. She sees the driver on the ground and realizes he is still alive. She rushes to his side and tells him to stay with her. She notices the bindings on him and asks if they are power lines. She looks at the wrecked car and wonders why there are so many power lines. The car begins to glow with a red aura. The power lines animate and move like tentacles. The lines lash out towards Hari. They wrap around her body and restrain her. She wonders if the power lines moving on their own is the ghost's ability. She hears a strange noise beside her. A long-haired ghost with sharp teeth appears behind her. The ghost screams as it lunges forward. Hari says she has no choice now. She clenches her fists as energy sparks around her hands. She yells summon as blue energy erupts from her hand. A being of pure energy begins to form. The summoned spirit roars at the long-haired ghost, which recoils. Hari celebrates her successful summoning. The summoned spirit throws a punch at the ghost. Suddenly, a glowing red talisman appears. Hari looks up in shock at the object. The talisman unleashes red energy that envelops her summoned spirit. She realizes her summoned spirit is being sucked in. She wonders what the black talisman is. Another ghost with a terrifying grin appears behind her. She shuts her eyes in fear. She opens them again in confusion. The new ghost is pulling the power lines off of her. She realizes the ghost is untangling the power lines. Someone new steps onto the scene. She asks the long-haired ghost if it was trying to save people. The ghost cries, saying that on an unfair day it could not stop something. Hari looks at the ghost with understanding. She tells the ghost she will look into it for her. Hari is surrounded by a glowing blue aura. Her eye closes as she processes the vision. The scene shifts to a highway at night. A woman driving tells her mom she just got off work. She reaches for the car's dashboard. Dark tendrils begin to manifest inside her car. One of the tendrils suddenly grabs her hand. She screams, asking what is happening as she is restrained. A bright light flashes from the side of the road. A large truck smashes into her vehicle. The car is shown completely wrecked from the collision. The woman thinks she does not want to die. Back in the present, Hari understands what happened. She says the injustice of her death turned her into a ghost. She realizes the ghost was trying to prevent this from happening to others. Hari thanks the ghost for trying so hard. She tells the crying ghost to leave the rest to her. The ghost cries tears of relief as she glows with light. The spirit thanks Hari as it ascends and vanishes. Hari watches the spirit depart. Hari has a sudden realization. She thinks if the ghost was a victim of the power lines. She wonders who the real culprit is as a dark entity appears. A massive mechanical monster made of tendrils roars. Hari identifies the culprit as an evil spirit fused with machinery. The mechanical spirit lets out a scream. The spirit raises its large fist. It slams its fist down towards Hari. Hari is knocked to the ground. A black car arrives at high speed. Choi Kanglim is driving the car. Manager Oh stops him from exiting, warning their identities could be exposed. Kanglim protests, wanting to intervene. Manager Oh tells him to trust Hari. He observes that her eyes are still alive. Hari despairs that she cannot bring out her summoned spirit. She questions if she can stop an evil spirit by herself. She remembers having friends and overcoming obstacles together. She thinks that right now she has no friends to fight with. She scolds herself, saying it is not the time for these thoughts. She thinks if she cannot stop this ghost, other people will be in danger. She resolves to never give up if she can protect people. She remembers this is why she became a police officer. As the monster roars, she tells herself to find its weakness. She spots a glowing object inside the wreckage and says she found it. She challenges the ghost, saying she will finish it in one shot. The mechanical spirit screams and charges. Hari runs as the spirit attacks. The monster pursues her. She runs towards a street lamp. The spirit continues its chase. Hari looks up with determination. She jumps and breaks the street lamp. The broken lamp hits the ground, causing sparks. A large fire erupts from the ground. The mechanical spirit is caught in the flames. Hari holds the top of the broken lamp post. She yells at the monster to burn up. She throws the lamp post at the burning spirit. The impact creates a massive explosion. The mechanical spirit screams as it burns. The fire and spirit erupt in a final explosion. Hari says she told it she would finish it in one shot. A massive explosion erupts. The fire burns intensely. Hari stands in the aftermath and asks if it is finally over. She turns her head. She sees the driver is unharmed and thinks she needs to get him to the hospital. Her vision blurs as she questions what is happening. She thinks her body has no strength. Someone catches her as she falls. Choi Kanglim is holding her. He tells her she did good work. He says her name, Hari. He carries her away from the fire as a tendril twitches in the flames. A small creature bursts from the fire. The creature expresses its surprise. A voice says that for an evil spirit, it is pretty clueless. Manager O appears, saying it interrupted a lover's reunion. He identifies himself as Gao Agent Manager O and confirms isolation code 61 metal tapeworm is captured. He says he will leave the cleanup to someone else. He addresses the agents gathered at the scene. Two agents in black suits put on their gloves. Choi Kanglim carries Hari through the city at night. He looks ahead with a serious expression. The scene shifts to a hospital during the day. Hari groans as she begins to wake up. A crying man in front of her asks about an evil spirit. He exclaims that his daughter is awake and Hari recognizes her dad. Her mom is also there, asking if she is okay, and Hari asks what happened. Her mom explains that her colleagues found her and brought her to the hospital. A police officer enters asking how Officer Gu is feeling, and Hari identifies her as Inspector Ju Hyuna. Hari's father asks who the inspector is. He angrily demands to know who put Hari in danger. Her mom apologizes for her husband and says they will leave now. Inspector Ju Hyuna salutes Hari's father, calling him senior. Hari's mom says there is no need to salute a retired person as they leave. Hari apologizes for her dad, and the inspector says she is jealous of a caring father. The inspector then says it seems Hari acted aggressively again. She asks why Hari did not contact the station first, and Hari says she needed to stop the vehicle quickly. The inspector tells her she did well. She explains that Hari's quick response saved the driver and potentially pedestrians. Hari thanks the inspector. The inspector reminds Hari to request backup next time, and Hari understands. Another officer arrives with a get-well gift of vegetables. He tells her to eat and get healthy like him as she thanks him. Later that night at the hospital, Hari lies awake in her bed. She thinks that yesterday was a very close call. She recalls her summoned ghost was sealed by a black talisman as if it was being controlled. She thinks that while she stopped the spirit this time, she cannot do it alone again. She considers telling Gangram about what happened. She thinks about Gangram's current situation. A voice from the window says she is still awake. Gangram climbs into her room and she says his name. She asks how he is here and he tells her to be quiet since visiting hours are over. Hari asks if he was not busy and how he knew she was hospitalized. He says her mother contacted him so he came. He asks how she feels. She says she is fine and tough, but he tells her to be careful. Hari internally debates telling him she saw ghosts again. She thinks that maybe Gangram could help her. Gangram then says he is sorry. Hari asks why he is sorry and he says it is because he was not by her side. He says if he had paid more attention or known earlier, she would not have been hurt like this. He stands over her hospital bed. Hari thinks about his expression. She questions how she could tell him something that would make him worry. She says his name, Gangram. The hospital room light flickers. A nurse enters telling the patient it is time for an injection. The nurse sees Hari alone in her bed and Hari asks her to wait. Hari asks why. She yells at the nurse about the timing as the nurse asks her to calm down. Gangram lands on the ground outside. He thinks that was not why he came here. He thinks he is glad Hari seems okay. He decides it is time to get going. He resolves to go to Ghost Agent headquarters. He walks towards the building entrance. He places his hand on a scanner. He rides an elevator downwards. The elevator display shows it is heading to floor B100. The elevator doors close on Gangram. He walks out into a large, sterile hall. A woman at a desk greets assistant manager Choi Gangram and asks why he is here. He explains he is returning the lost materials. She identifies the item as Isolation Code 61 and thanks him for his work. A green light indicates the storage location is shelf P31. A large door slides open and Gangram walks through. He looks around the containment area. He stands before a giant creature suspended in a tank. He walks down a long corridor lined with similar tanks holding other beings. He places his hand on the glass of one tank. Someone approaches from behind. A voice asks if he is lost in memories of the past. The voice then asks what brings him here. Gao Agent Director Yoon identifies herself and says she is investigating the ghost escape incident. She looks towards Gangram. The director says Manager Oh made a request for an exception to allow a civilian to summon ghosts. She states that civilian was Gu Hari, who was involved in the 61 incident. Gangram says she was accidentally caught up in it after the spirit approached her. The director disagrees, saying there is no such thing as coincidence for people who touch the supernatural, because they are drawn to it. The director says Gangram knows well that his past experiences inevitably entangle him with ghosts. Gangram argues that Hari is an ordinary person who needs the exception applied so she can protect herself. The director says she understands his point but has a question. She asks if a human who can freely control ghosts should still be classified as an ordinary human. Gangram stammers in response. The director makes a small sound. She laughs and tells him she is just joking and to relax. She says she understands his opinion, but all supernatural beings must be under Gao control. She states there can be no exceptions, which is why they are also controlling Gu Hara's summoning. She warns that if anyone breaks that rule, she will step in and impose sanctions herself. Gangram says he understood. He walks towards an exit as the director watches him leave. A shadowy figure appears and asks if it is okay to let him go. The figure says he is one of the suspects in the ghost escape. The director says not to worry because he is not the culprit and the case is becoming clear. She tells someone named Yeonhwa that she will soon see how they deal with traitors. A car drives along a road at night. Inside, a man says their collection target is code 720 water butterfly, a ghost with breeding characteristics. He tells the driver they must collect it before it multiplies. The driver notes that judging by his expression, the director must have scolded him. The passenger mentions he has been requesting about Hari and the ghost summoning authorization. He is interrupted as he yells about a person on the road. The car screeches to a halt in front of a woman. The passenger asks about the person while the driver says he thinks they found code 720. The driver gets out of the car as the woman thinks about a delicious human smell. She reveals a monstrous appendage from her mouth and asks if they are Gao dogs. She transforms, fully revealing her identity as code 720 water butterfly. The driver realizes she is creating a water mist to escape. The ghost asks why she would escape as she attacks him with a red tendril. Her attack pulls him into the water beside the road. Underwater, a hand grabs him by the throat. The water butterfly says he is handsome, but it is a waste. She states that she needs to kill all the Gao dogs. The driver thinks that he cannot breathe. His partner runs to the edge yelling Gangram's name and panicking that he cannot swim. He stops as the water below begins to glow red. The water erupts in a blast of red energy. Gangram kneels in the water holding a glowing red weapon as a bright light shines above. The water butterfly ghost cries out in pain. His partner says it is as expected from their ace and asks if he is hurt. Gangram says he is fine and they should capture the ghost. The injured water butterfly lies on the ground. A purple energy emanates from the ghost's mouth. Both agents cover their ears as one asks what that sound is. A massive swarm of butterfly ghosts rises from the water. The partner panics, saying he did not expect the numbers to multiply this much. Gangram holds his weapon ready and says, "Damn it." A voice commands the swarm to kill them all as monstrous hands reach for the agents. A hand aims a pistol. Shots fire into the swarm, causing explosions. A man holding the gun comments that there are way too many. He tells the ghosts to stop swarming around and is identified as Gao Agent Team 1 Mikey. Another agent with blades tells Mikey there is no chit-chat during combat. This agent, identified as Team 1 Xianmi, cuts through the ghosts. The partner asks how Team 1 is here and Xianmi explains director Yoon sent them as backup. The partner is surprised, saying that does not sound like the director. Mikey says it means Team 2 is unreliable, but the partner argues they have the highest collection rate. Gangram's partner yells that they will talk later and clean this up first. Xianmi agrees that it is not the time to relax. The Gao agents fight the swarm of ghosts. Mikey declares he will go full force. The agents defeat the last of the ghosts. Mikey tells manager O to seal the last one as Gangram's partner says good work. Xianmi finds it strange that the numbers increased so abnormally when only one water butterfly escaped. She wonders if someone intentionally offered sacrifices to it. A red energy bursts from a defeated ghost. Gangram watches as a wooden cross materializes from the energy. The cross falls to the ground. Gangram picks up the wooden cross. He reads the inscription and asks about the Lamb Gospel Church. The scene changes to a city apartment building. Hari stretches inside and says the weather is nice. She announces that she is heading out. Her mother wishes her a safe day and tells her not to overdo it. Her father tells her to call him if anyone bothers her, but Hari says his expression is the scariest. Hari boards a bus at the bus stop. She greets the driver, who asks if she has been discharged, and she asks if he was worried. Hari sits on the bus looking out the window. She thinks it is like nothing ever happened. She recalls that just a week ago, the bus drives past a familiar riverside road. She remembers she fought a ghost alone there. She resolves to definitely protect this peaceful daily life. The driver asks if she is getting off at the police station and she quickly says yes. Hari hurries off the bus. She bumps into a woman and worries she will be late for work. The woman's pamphlets scatter across the ground. Hari apologizes as they both kneel to pick them up. Hari then notices something about the woman. The woman mutters that she is a sinner and Hari thinks she looks unwell. Hari asks if she is okay and offers to help. A man appears and says his sister seems to have caused trouble. He tells his sister they should return to the church. Hari calls out to them, but the man tells his sister to answer. The woman says she is fine and thanks Hari for helping. The man leads the woman away as Hari watches. Hari looks at a pamphlet and asks what kind of place this is. The pamphlet invites people into Mother's Embrace from the Lamb Church. The scene shifts to a church at night with glowing red crosses. This is the Lamb Palace in Gyeonggi-do, Jinan. Inside, a service is underway with people gathered. A man at the pulpit declares that Mother's blessed grace is descending. He says a prophet is being appointed to lead them from the wilderness. He calls out to Mother and as Yoon Gwangsu vows to spread her gospel. As the congregation chants, a man watches from the back. A woman observes, remarking that these ghosts have twisted hobbies. She says she is still curious how their madness will torment the Gao. A monstrous entity looms behind Yoon Gwangsu as he vows to spread Mother's gospel. The congregation shouts hallelujah and amen as a man watches from the back. The woman notes the ghosts are gathering humans to play fake God. She says she is curious how their madness will torment the Gao. Rain falls on the church steeple at night. A young woman looks on in fear. A cult leader tells her not to be afraid because this is a blessing for the chosen. He places a hand on her head, saying the pain is brief and only salvation remains. He says her suffering ends now and everything returns to Mother. He tells her to surrender to Mother's grace as she gasps. The woman's body lies twisted on the floor. The cult leader smiles as red energy surrounds him. Someone asks to come in and he grants them entry. Two figures identified as shepherds Handayam Jeonghun and Shin Jeon enter. They tell the cult leader he has bestowed grace. The cult leader asks about what he had them look into. A hand spreads photos of the Gao agents on a table. The figures report these are photos of the people who wiped out the water butterflies. The cult leader looks at a photo of Gangram and says so it is them. The prophet Yoon Gwangsu identifies them as the heretics Mother spoke of. The two figures tell the cult leader they are ashamed and should have been more careful. The cult leader says it is fine because confirming the heretic's existence was a gain. He calls the incident a test run as he burns Gangram's photo. He says Mother's new grace will descend and tells his shepherds to prepare the next lambs. One of the figures says there is one more thing to report and he tells them to proceed. They explain that new lambs were supposed to be guided to the church today, but the guide in charge, Shepherd Kim Jihu, has lost contact. The cult leader thinks that Kim Jihu is not someone who acts recklessly. A monstrous voice calls out to its son. The entity says it seems things have gone wrong as the cult leader looks on in shock. The entity called Mother appears and the shepherd's hand greet her. The cult leader asks what she means and Mother says there is a problem with a shepherd's hand. He asks if the heretics have already moved against them. Mother says it is not them but a different human. It is a human who bears a grudge against them as a van is shown on a rainy road. Rain pours down on the vehicle. Shepard's hand Kim Ji-hoo stands outside on the phone saying he burned everything. The person on the phone tells him not to worry since he picked a remote area. The voice on the phone mentions 1 man and 8 women who are runaways. He is instructed to guide them by tonight, and Kim Ji-hoo says Roger. Shepard Kim Ji-hoo complains that they keep giving him grunt work. He lights a cigarette thinking this will be the last time he does this crap. Suddenly he is startled and asks who is there. A figure in a sheep mask shoves him. His shout is muffled. A hand is clamped over his mouth. The attacker stands over him as Kim Ji-hoo asks if the figure means him. The figure identifies himself as the monster Kim Ji-hoo created. He punches Kim Ji-hoo. Kim Ji-hoo is dragged from the van. He begs the attacker to stop. He asks what the masked person wants from him. The figure demands to know the plan for the people he brings in, but Kim Ji-hoo says he only transports them. The masked person asks if he is expected to believe that. Kim Ji-hoo insists it is true and admits he heard about using people as sacrifices. He swears he does not know anything more than that. He asks if they are done and the figure thanks him. The figure says he will ask someone else about the rest and grabs Kim Ji-hoo's face. The sheep-masked person walks away leaving Kim Ji-hoo lying on the ground. The figure reaches for the van door handle. The sheep-masked person stands in the open van doorway. He tells everyone to get out. The people inside say they have a place to go because they were told they would be guided to heaven. They tell him to leave them alone and not to interfere. The masked figure says where they are going is not heaven. He tells them it is hell. He walks away from the van telling them to go home because heaven is not far away. The people inside the van watch him. The group of people get out and run away into the rain. The person in the sheep mask watches them leave. He turns his head. The scene shifts to the Yongno District 1 station. Someone types on a keyboard. Officer Guhari stretches and says her eyes are going to fall out. She complains that stopping one car accident has led to endless paperwork. She thinks that Sergeant Kim Woo-seok's snoring is keeping her awake. Hari hears a noise from the station doors. She looks up from her desk. She walks to the door thinking she heard something and wonders if it is a ghost. A person struggles with their mouth covered, making muffled sounds. Hari is startled to see the person bound on the ground. She rushes over asking if he is okay as he makes muffled sounds. She looks at him with a confused expression. Hari recognizes him as the man from before. She reads a note on his chest that says kidnapping and confinement. She wonders who on earth would do such a thing. Her eyes widen as she sees something in the distance. A figure stands across the street watching her. She identifies the person is wearing a lamb mask. Inspector Kim Woo-seok runs out of the station asking what is happening. Hari looks back toward where the figure was standing. The person in the lamb mask is gone. A news report covers the controversial Lamb Gospel Church, stating police are investigating allegations of illegal confinement and human trafficking. The report continues that most victims were runaways or young people who were promised food and shelter. Victims state they were told they would do volunteer work and receive grace, and that they would go to hell if they ran away. The case reportedly came to light from a handwritten statement by church associate Mr. Kim. While the church claims the people came voluntarily, a man from the church smiles and says the claims are all baseless. He tells reporters the church has never forcibly detained anyone and is a community that helps young people in need. When asked about Mr. Kim's statement, he claims he heard it was written under assault and threats. He turns away, saying he does not know who orchestrated this, but the truth will be revealed. The report adds that the man in the lamb mask who rescued the victims has not been identified and police are tracking him. The news report concludes on a phone screen as someone eats noodles. Officer Guhari watches the report while eating at her desk. She thinks about the person in the lamb mask, recalling that CCTV footage barely captured him. Hari considers his calculated movements, knowing exactly where the blind spots were, and wonders why he showed himself to her. She questions if he is really helping people or if he has another purpose. A voice tells Guhari her eyes are going to fall out. Startling her, it is another officer, Hyuk-jun, and Hari asks how long he was watching, to which he replies just now. Officer Kwon Hyuk-jun of Yongno District 1 station asks what will change by her staring at the case. He points out it has been a week with no progress, and Hari says that is not really their concern. Hari protests that as police they should be involved, but he explains the case was transferred to the jurisdictional police station. Hyuk-jun states that district stations only handle initial responses, and since the suspect and evidence were handed over, there is nothing she can do alone. Hari tells him to drop it and says she will handle it herself. Hyuk-jun asks why she is being so stubborn about this case. He tells her that she has done enough. She looks at him with a serious expression. Hari explains that she saw them in front of a bus stop. She remembers seeing the suspect Kim Ji-hoo leading a woman away. She thought it was normal church activity at the time and had to let them go. In the memory, she watches them walk away. Hyuk-jun points out that the woman was not among the people rescued. Hari realizes she just passed by a victim that day. She believes there are still people like that woman who have not gotten out of the church. She declares her intention to rescue those people and uncover the truth. Her expression is determined. Hyuk-jun looks back at her. He sighs and says rules are rules, warning that everything could go wrong if she acts alone. He then says he at least understands why she is doing this. Hyuk-jun offers to help her as much as he can. Hari is surprised and reminds him he hates breaking rules and could face disciplinary action. He says that they are still partners and he cannot just ignore her. Hari gets excited about their partnership while Hyuk-jun tells her to get away before he takes it back. Hyuk-jun tells Hari that it will not be easy. A voice says it happened 2 years ago too regarding the Lamb Gospel Church. Hari identifies the man as Yongno District 1 Station Inspector Lee Yikwang. Hari asks if he heard everything and the inspector says he could not help it. Hyuk-jun asks the inspector what he means by the case being the same as 2 years ago. The inspector explains the case was taken by Headquarters Violent Crimes Unit Team 3. He says the team's nickname is the Undertakers because they specialize in burying cases. The inspector reiterates that the same thing happened 2 years ago. He explains that cult leader Yoon Gwang-soo exploited believers but only served a year because the investigation was not done properly. Hari asks how that makes sense and how the police could do such a thing. The inspector says it makes sense because that is how they got to this point. He states that the situation is unfolding in exactly the same way now. The scene shifts to a closed door inside a building. Inside an office, Kim Ji-hoo yells asking how many times they will repeat themselves and that he is the victim. Officer Kim Do-yeon of Violent Crimes Unit Team 3 tells Mr. Ji-hoo to lower his voice so they can align their stories. Ji-hoo shouts that an innocent citizen was assaulted while the officer says they already heard what happened. The officer suggests they align their stories to say the women had mental issues. Kim Ji-hoo asks what about the lamb mask and if they are investigating properly. Officer Kim Do-yeon is silent and sweats. He then says of course and claims they have almost finished tracking the person on CCTV. The officer warns Kim Ji-hoo that if anything leaks they are both finished. Kim Ji-hoo hears someone outside the door. 3 figures are visible through the door's window. A woman and 2 men enter the room. She introduces herself as Shin Ji-yeon from the Lamb Gospel Church and says they are taking Kim Ji-hoo. The officer protests that they cannot technically send him yet. Shin Ji-yeon states it is the cult leader's order. She tells Shepherd Kim Ji-hoo to stand up. A black car drives down the street. Inside the car, Shin Ji-yeon thanks Ji-hoo for transporting sacrifices. She says the cult leader highly values his work and he agrees. Shin Ji-yeon offers him a reward for his hard work from the cult leader. Kim Ji-hoo says a reward sounds good. The car arrives at a dark warehouse. A car door opens. Kim Ji-hoo gets out and asks why they are here since it is not the church. He is told that he will be given a reward for his hard work. Kim Ji-hoo looks shocked and asks what they mean. A voice says eternal rest as a dark figure impales him. He screams as vines wrap around him asking what is happening. Kim Ji-hoo yells that this was not what they discussed as the figure says the church cannot attract public attention. The figure states the incident will be processed as something Ji-hoo did individually. They explain that with his death the church will continue as if nothing happened. The figure thanks him for his hard work and tells him to rest in peace. In a dark room, a person sits in front of a glowing computer screen. He types at his desk next to a small lamb plushie. The lamb plushie sits on the desk. He reads news headlines about the Lamb Gospel Church case. The article's state police concluded a single staff member acted alone and have no plans for further investigation. He thinks to himself that they really went this route. He stands up saying it is the same dirty trick as 2 years ago. He moves away from his desk. He looks at a wall covered in information about the Lamb Gospel Church. One article details a female believer's death and a poor investigation with a suspected link to the church. Another article shows a picture of the cult leader Yoon Gwang-soo. He recalls that public anger toward the church was boiling over. He explains they cut off the tail and hid the body as he crosses out a picture of Kim Ji-hoo. He says they used the police to bury the case while looking at photos of other members. He stabs a knife into another picture on the board. He declares that the remaining 3 are next. He picks up a framed photograph from his desk. He holds a picture of a young woman named Min Ah. He tells her to wait a little longer for him to deal with the demons who killed her. He puts on a lamb mask, vowing he will make them pay for their sins. The next day at the Yongno District 1 station, Officer Hari reads a news article on her phone calling it unbelievable. She questions why they are closing the investigation again. She thinks they have victim testimony and a confession but concluded it was a lone act overnight. She considers that they still do not know who the lamb mask is and that he must know something. Hyuk-jun appears behind her saying he thought she would be defeated. He says he brought something to cheer her up. He hands her a tablet explaining he looked into the case from 2 years ago but found few records. The tablet displays an article about a female believer found dead with a suspected link to the church. Hyuk-jun says the victim was Lee Min-ah, and her final note exposed the church's exploitation. He explains Pastor Yu Gwang-soo was arrested, but later cleared due to lack of evidence while police focused on the victim's mental health. He continues that the lamb mask then appeared, dragging the controversy back up, and it cannot be a coincidence. Hari agrees the lamb mask must be connected to the Lee Min-ah case as a voice interrupts them. Several men walk into the office. A man calls out Guhara's name. Three men announce they are from headquarters Violent Crimes. Hari is surprised and Hyukjun recognizes them as the Undertakers. The lead officer states all case files related to the church are being transferred to headquarters. He demands all CCTV footage and investigation records be handed over. Hari calls the situation ridiculous, but Hyukjun stops her. Hyukjun tells her that investigative authority lies with Violent Crimes and they will suffer if they cause trouble. Hari still looks determined to argue. An officer from the unit packs a box with case files. He then gathers more records from a shelf. The officer reports to his team leader that they have collected all the records and are ready to leave. A voice wonders about the commotion as a man in a suit approaches a desk. Inspector Lee Yikwang identifies the men as Violent Crimes Team 3. The team leader greets Inspector Lee and apologizes for meeting again under these circumstances. Inspector Lee asks if he is there to hold another funeral just like 2 years ago. The team leader replies that a clean finish is important and there is nothing they can do. He tells Inspector Lee the case is closed and advises him not to get involved. The team leader then tells his men to pull out and they carry the boxes away. Hari grits her teeth in frustration. Inspector Lee turns his attention to Officer Guhari. He states that her opponents have deep roots and a district officer does not have the power to change the outcome. He explains that 2 years ago he was in the same frame without the strength to overturn the higher-ups' conclusion. He then asks Hari if she has the resolve to shoulder everything for the sake of what is right. Hari looks at him with a steady gaze. She starts to answer him honestly. She says she does not know about grand ideals and her motivation is not because she is a cop or righteous. She says she is scared of doing nothing when she knows someone could disappear. She states that if she turned her back on someone needing help, she would not deserve to be a police officer. Inspector Lee listens and says her answer is enough. He tells her to get going and she thanks him with a salute. Hari runs out of the office. Hyukjun asks the inspector if it is okay to let her go alone on such a dangerous case. The inspector replies that she will be fine. At night, a group of men stand around a bonfire. They are burning documents in the fire. An officer confirms to the team leader that all records are burned and the leader tells them to leave. A voice asks if they are in a hurry to get somewhere. The man in the lamb mask appears telling them they are supposed to have fun with him first. The team leader is surprised the lamb mask came to them, saving them the trouble of tracking him. He orders his men to grab him and 2 of them charge. The lamb mask asks if they thought he would come to see them. He then asks if they thought he would come empty-handed and pulls out a large gun. The team leader realizes it is a homemade gun. The lamb mask fires the weapon at the charging men. One of the men is hit multiple times. He falls to the ground as the lamb mask stands over him. The lamb mask says the gun is non-lethal, but he might die if he is unlucky. The team leader thinks the lamb mask is a psycho and guns complicate things. He decides there is no turning back. He looks at his fallen men and asks where the lamb mask has gone. The lamb mask appears behind him, asking why a cop would take his eyes off the target. The team leader turns around. The lamb mask grabs his gun hand. He slams the team leader down. The team leader hits the ground hard. Pinned down, he asks what the lamb mask's goal is and says the church will not sit back. The lamb mask demands to know what happened to Lee Min-ah 2 years ago. The team leader is shocked and asks how he knows that name. He asks if the lamb mask is connected to that girl. A new figure stands nearby. The man says he had a feeling and is glad he came. He addresses the lamb mask as Mr. Lee Minju. A force explodes from the ground. The lamb mask is thrown back. He lands and asks what that was. The team leader is grabbed by strange tentacles and calls for help. The tentacles retract into the man who called out the lamb mask's name. He tells the lamb mask not to worry too much about his little sister. He says she has become their precious nourishment, just like the man he is holding. He threatens that the lamb mask will join her soon as the lamb mask realizes this monster is the church's true form. Elsewhere, Officer Hari appears with a small yellow creature. The ground is covered in craters from the attack. A large purple tentacle slams down again. The lamb mask is thrown backwards by the force. The monster says he is good at scurrying away like a rat. He asks how long the lamb mask thinks he can keep running. The monster scans the smoky area, asking if he is hiding again. He asks if the lamb mask really thinks this will avenge his sister. The lamb mask thinks that all he can do right now is avoid him. He knows his weapon is inside the nearby duffel bag. The monster says he cannot change anything because the church is beyond his reach. He offers mercy from the church as the lamb mask begins to run. The monster's face twists as he says negotiations have failed. He yells for the lamb mask to die and lunges forward. His tentacles shoot towards the lamb mask. The lamb mask's eye is steady. The tentacles smash into the ground, creating a large impact. The monster feels the hit and thinks he has got him for sure. He says it was foolish to show himself and he should have stayed hidden. His tentacles are holding the duffel bag as he exclaims about the bag. The lamb mask appears directly behind him with a knife raised. The monster realizes the lamb mask is behind him. He asks if the lamb mask really thought he would be surprised as tentacles erupt. The lamb mask is ensnared as the monster says he dug into his background. He reveals the lamb mask was in the 717th Battalion and excelled in guerrilla warfare. The monster calls him a capable soldier and the lamb mask asks if he was investigated. The lamb mask says the monster did not get the full picture and holds a detonator. He reveals his specialty is demolition as a bomb is shown inside the duffel bag. He tells the monster to pay attention to his last lesson. The monster yells "You bastard" as the bomb glows. A massive explosion erupts. Smoke and severed tentacles fill the area. The lamb mask is on the ground watching the aftermath. He asks if he got him. He thinks he needs to hurry to the church and stop their plan. He notes the homemade bomb was a troublesome weapon. A monstrous form emerges from the smoke as he questions how it withstood the blast. The monster says tricks like that are meaningless in the face of his power. The monster lunges towards the lamb mask. He grabs the lamb mask, saying the Night of Grace will create more victims. He says the lamb mask will die here, having failed to stop anything as the man struggles. A figure runs through the dark woods. Officer Hari arrives and shouts at the monster to let the man go. The man in the monster's grasp recognizes her. He identifies her as the cop from before as she aims her gun. The monster laughs and asks what a cop can do. It asks if a rubber bullet can hurt it as Hari fires a shot. The monster recoils from the impact. Hari thinks she needs to block its line of sight and fires again. The monster is now shrouded in smoke. A single red eye glows within the smoke. Hari helps Lee Minju and he asks how she found this place. She says she followed the ghost's aura and he asks if she means the monster. Hari says they need to get out of there and can talk later. The monster's voice asks where they are going. It says leaving this place means death as its hand emerges. Lee Minju yells move and pushes Hari away. The monster's hand grabs Lee Minju as Hari calls out his name. The monster says this is just like with Lee Min Ah and they cannot change anything. Hari wonders what to do, thinking her summoned spirit might fail again. She clenches her fist with resolve, thinking but even so, deciding she cannot stand and watch. Hari shouts to summon. A spirit with long hair materializes from a flash of light. The creature is identified as a dark Jin ghost summon. The monster is surprised she summoned a ghost, saying that power should belong to them. The monster lets out a loud scream. A black talisman appears above the ghost, unleashing red energy. Hari realizes the monster is trying to absorb her summoned spirit again. She shouts that she will not let it happen this time. She reaches out and grabs her spirit's hand. Their hands clasp as dark energy swirls around them. The energy surrounds Hari completely. A close-up shows her eye glowing purple. In another location, someone on a phone says they are continuing to push a request. A man in a suit notes that Gao must have a lot to weigh up. He is interrupted while talking about their proposal. He asks the person on the phone if they felt that. The person replies that they think something just happened to Hari. The yellow creature on the phone screen looks concerned. It is explained that Haris will resonated with the ghost's energy, reversing her summoning ability into herself. The person on the phone asks what this means for Ms. Hari and the man says that is right. The text explains that she absorbed the ghost into her body. The monster thinks that this is impossible. It questions how this can be happening after it received Mother's grace. The monstrous form collapses into purple energy on the ground. Lee Minju gets to his knees and asks what just happened. He looks up at a floating Hari surrounded by a massive aura and wonders what that form is. A voice says that anyone who gets in its way will be wiped out completely. Beams of purple energy point towards Lee Minju. He looks on in shock. He appears confused by the turn of events. Haris' voice pleads that she does not want to hurt people. She clutches her head, screaming for the presence to get out of her body. The purple energy surges around her form. The intense aura begins to dissipate. She lands softly on the ground in front of Lee Minju. He asks her what she is. She extends her hand towards him. She tells him to come with her because they need to stop them. He stares back at her. He agrees, saying he will not ask for details, and takes her hand. He thinks that if it is her, then maybe she can stop the church's plan. The man in the suit states the ghost's aura that was surrounding Ms. Hari has vanished. The person on the phone says it looks like Hari won, but one day the ghost will take her body. He says she needs a device to suppress that power and he will deliver it himself. He gets another call and says he should go. The person on the phone asks him to please take good care of Hari. He tells them not to worry because Ms. Hari has excellent colleagues. He says he will contact them again next time and hangs up. The man in the suit walks out of a room. Another man greets him as Manager O and he responds with Mr. Kanglim. Mr. Kanglim asks where he has been and he says the call went a bit long. Mr. Kanglim asks who talks that long before a mission briefing. Manager O jokes it might be someone he knows well, then says it was a joke. Mr. Kanglim looks confused. They walk into a large room filled with people in suits. Numerous agents stand waiting. More agents are shown in the crowd. Manager O comments on the large crowd and asks if they are going to war. A woman called Director Yoon states the situation is serious and they had no choice. She announces that since everyone is here, she will explain the mission. Director Yoon's eyes are shown. She states their target is the Lamb Gospel Church to collect the ghost White Mother. She adds that they will also be eliminating all related individuals. The scene shifts to the church's bell tower. Inside the church, a woman approaches a man. A close-up shows the man's expression. The woman reports that Shepherd Im Jeonhun was taken out despite having received grace. The man says an interesting variable has appeared and they must move up the schedule. He tells them to prepare for the night of grace right now. A congregation sits waiting in the church pews. Two members of the congregation sit with goblets. The man at the pulpit thanks his beloved children for attending. He says the world abandoned them, but Mother has chosen them. He holds up a goblet and says it is time to repay that grace. He yells for them to raise their cups and fulfill Mother's will. The congregation cheers as the text announces the night of grace begins. The followers drink from their goblets. More people drink from their glasses. A man's eye becomes bloodshot as veins bulge from his skin. A goblet falls to the floor and shatters. A man chokes in agony. The entire congregation screams in unison. The man at the pulpit announces they will all be reborn tonight. A woman watching finds the situation interesting. She notes that all their screams sound the same. A creature warns her not to underestimate them because they are strong together. She asks if White Mother is getting attached to the humans. White Mother reminds her that this was her idea to strike Gao. The woman explains Gao will hesitate against humans and asks what White Mother wants back. White Mother confirms that it does. It vows to crush the Gao woman and retrieve its stolen leg. The woman mocks it for being captured and losing a leg. She asks if it has forgotten its place and needs to fight a real god. White Mother states it is ready to fight any time. The woman says they should not waste their strength on each other. She tells it she is leaving but to stick to the plan. Her eyes widen slightly. She asks about a bad feeling and White Mother confirms something is approaching. White Mother notes the presence feels like the Gao woman but is different. A car arrives outside the church as White Mother questions the identity of the newcomer. A car door opens from the inside. Hari announces they have arrived at the Lamb Gospel Church. Lee Minjiu hears screaming and wonders if they have already started. Hari says they need to hurry and save those people.